Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. This episode was recorded live from Autodesk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where the brightest minds in construction, design, and technology came together to shape the future. Over the course of AU, we talked with industry leaders, innovators, and the change makers about the trends, tools, and ideas driving digital transformation in our great industry. So settle in as we explore how to model the future of construction innovation. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. We are coming live from Autodesk University in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am super excited to be joined by Kirsty Hogg from Kindle. I blew it right at the gate. I'm sorry. This is a couple hours into recording today and mess it up right at the gate. So why don't you introduce yourself? You could do a better job than me.
Yeah, so I'm Kirsty from Condal. Work out of the London office. We have about 26, 28 offices, I think now. And I'm the BIM governance lead for the company. Look at software, strategy for BIM, workflows for BIM, the governance side of it.
Yeah.
All that kind of admin.
Nice. Talk to me about some of the typical projects that you guys take on and work on.
Yeah, really diverse, really catalogue of projects. We have multiple sectors, so it's quite interesting for the engineers, I think, that work there because they have the opportunity to move between sectors and they never can really get bored. So we can do big 5-star hotels. We're doing an airport. We do lots of data center work. That's one of our biggest sectors. We do infrastructure projects in the Middle East, stadiums. I think the structures team did some fancy display work for the Ed Sheeran tour that finished last year. So yeah, it's very diverse.
Yeah. Nice. So we're at AU here. What is the kind of some of the big draw to come to AU?
I think meeting people is obviously one of the big things. I've met people from industry that I wouldn't traditionally meet from project work, and I learn a lot from them because they're whilst not in my specific engineering industry, they're in BIM and they're in digital. And you learn from them what is working for them. And it's similar challenges to what you're having and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So having that ability to reach people that you wouldn't normally and connect with them and make long-term connections with them as well, massively beneficial for us as a business. And the other side is, as part of my job is strategy, we get to see all the roadmap stuff at this event, and we can sort of formulate, this is roughly where things are going in the next few years. What do we need to do to prepare for that?
Yeah.
And then we bring other people with us that get more just from the physical classes of our peers and Autodesk themselves, just to see how people are doing and compare and say, okay, we're maybe a bit behind on this, but we're ahead on that. And I think it's a great learning experience for everyone. For conferences, for BIM, a lot of it's sales. So coming to one that's more about learning and learning from peers, it's kind of unique.
Yeah, it's a good gauge check of where you are and implementation and
massively,
the innovation curve. Like maybe I'm not ahead of where I thought it was, or I'm doing great here compared to other people. So that's awesome. So a lot of big announcements though have been coming out and big changes. So on the strategy side, what's kind of triggering off in your head and what excites you from what you've heard so far?
So I was just talking about this. So I went to the roadmap for the data model and it was a huge amount of information to take in. Trying to put that away to go and research later is going to be fun. But definitely the data side is something we've been looking at and how we utilize our data better, whether that's in models or in documents, general project metrics. How are we performing across multiple disciplines, styles of jobs? What are the lessons learned? How do we track all of this and centralize that data better? In the last couple of years, we've built a data lakehouse. So, now we've got that, we need to start filling it with data. We want to do machine learning off that data. That's our long-term goal. AI is a big thing. Fortunately for me, I am not the strategist for AI. Because I think that is the most complex discussion out there at the moment. But obviously, AI is a big feature this year at the conference. We've got other people going to those sessions and I'm just going to the easy AI. But so I think those are the two big things, is data and AI and where that's taking us. I mean, the other side of it is cloud. That's something we've been invested in for many years and want to push further into. That complements the AI and the data release information that you're hearing at the conference. It's all sort of centralizing within Forma, which is going to become the much bigger cloud platform for AEC.
Yeah. So on the data strategy side, how do you go about formulating how to think about the data strategy? Because it's
It's
massive.
massive.
Yeah. And the temptation is you have the data lake. Let's just throw everything in and then figure out what we need afterwards.
Yeah.
How do you go about building the data lake to then be useful later and not just swimming in a sea of data?
Yeah, and it is a challenge. I think that's the most challenging part. Some of it is within my team's control and the digital team's control. So from a BIM perspective, we try to keep it to bare minimum essentials of things that we do on projects and very light touch as well. So for instance, on lessons learned, I mentioned we're utilizing issues on ACC. It's a simple tick box to say, is this a lessons learned? And then it's optional to fill in what the lessons learned was. But we can then track that on a dashboard and just see how many types we're getting. Because I think if you, like you said, it's massive. You could go super deep and granular into lessons learned and you're not going to get much out of it at the end of the day. So that's the approach from the BIM side, is to keep it light, heavy to just the top tier topics. On the business side of collecting data, that's been a massive challenge. Gavin, my colleague who isn't here, he's working with the business in each department, whether that's finance or marketing, and really trying to get them to think about what is the information that's important to you, because that's what we're going to collect. If we collect everything, it's massive. And some of that, it's hard for them to comprehend a little bit or take on board how that will look. I mean, we did a dashboard for utilization of staff and they couldn't really agree what they wanted. So they just wanted everything. So Gavin's built that dashboard and it's so slow because it's got so much data in. And so I think sometimes you have to do it wrong for people to say, okay, let's strip that back. And I think that's where we are. We're happy to get it wrong while we're learning. But the end goal is we want to have quality data that we can do machine learning off of and really make us efficient.
I love that mindset of sometimes you have to get it wrong, which sounds very counterintuitive, especially in construction. Nothing should go wrong. Like, don't go wrong. That's right. How do you take that mindset, kind of crowdsource that out and get it into the DNA of the company, that it's okay if we go wrong, we're going to try it, we're going to test it, we're going to iterate, and we're going to adjust in real time?
I think we're lucky. Our business is very sort of, there's never a culture of we're going to hold you massively accountable if something doesn't work. So we're starting from a good base on that. You're allowed to make mistakes. I think if you make mistakes all the time and it's the same mistake, eventually it's going to come back to bite you. So it hasn't been too difficult. And sometimes you just do it subtly. You'll know you'll do something that is going to prove to not be the right approach, but you need to do it for the other person to understand why it's not the right approach. And it's usually a pretty positive experience. People learning from what doesn't work, they're learning something. If everything worked first time and it was perfect, no one would learn anything from it and they wouldn't grow as a person in the business. So for us personally, that culture isn't too difficult to overcome. Obviously, as you said, some things you cannot make mistakes on. But I think in things like this, where you're doing research and development without a big budget, you've got to expect to do it wrong. So just go with it.
Nice. What are the questions that you need to be asking in order to develop the questions that you need to approach the data with? Does that make sense? So like, I feel like when you have a big data lake, the temptation is, let's just kind of let the data do whatever and try to pull out whatever insights that you can. And the danger in that is you can get the data to tell you anything that you want.
Yeah.
So how do you approach it in making sure that you're going to have the accurate information by starting with the questions and the right strategy?
I mean, I can't speak for a lot of the data stuff we do because I don't get heavily involved in that side of it. The BIM data side, the stuff we're harvesting from projects, it's really looking at like what processes have we got now? Because it's not that we're not collecting information, we're just collecting it in formats that aren't really interoperable with each other. It could be I've written a Word document of minutes of capturing this information, or I've got an Excel. None of it talks to each other and none of it gets sent. So you kind of go through your existing templates and documents and see what's really valuable. What are people constantly going back to reference and taking them as your start points for, okay, we'll start with this. And if we need to, we'll add more later and build on it. But I think the key for us is making sure that even if we aren't including that data to go to the lakehouse, it's included in a way that's capturable later. So it's there, but we're not necessarily storing it in an environment that we can pull from. So we can go back to it later and say, okay, this was actually more valuable. Let's put it in.
Yeah. Nice. So we're in the Great Tech booth. So I know you guys have partnered with Great Tech. Talk to me a bit about how that partnership kind of came about and how you are leveraging that partnership now.
Yeah, so we moved to Greytech many years ago. Before I was at Cundall, but I wasn't in this role. So I don't know why we moved. Well, I do know why we moved, but I'm not going to say it on a podcast. We just wanted to partner with someone that, you know, we want the advice on what software we should be buying and what we should be doing with our services, but we don't like to be heavily sold to stuff that we don't need. We don't have the turnover and the profit to invest in all of the software that's out there, and there's loads of great software out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be super choosy. So we wanted to be with a company that listened to us, understood our business and how we worked and what was beneficial to us, and then come to us with potential solutions or advice and help, and sort of more partner with us rather than seller customer relationship. And I think we've got that with Greytech, which is really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Being more the strategic partner alongside of you, part of the business, and not the here's this, here's a catalog, here's another catalog.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it. What kind of tools and services are you leveraging right now with Great Tech?
So we have been using their file sync tool for quite a long time since they released it. We use that for backups. Initially, we used it for backing up the ACC. We needed an easy process to make sure that whatever data we were putting up on the ACC, we were also, not spending manual time downloading and moving. So that automates that process for us and works similar to our backup services for the on-premise servers we have. So that was a prime reason for moving to use that with our document control teams to manage change management across projects and platforms. So instead of them doing the really manual moving of data, they can set up their own syncs to get that going and save them time to do more important stuff within document management. And the future is move that into project management as well to see how they can leverage it. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, we just bought Ideate tools within the last year. So we're using that across all our projects. We have licenses for every Revit user in the business. We have the automation module. And we're really learning at the moment what else you can do with the out-of-the-box stuff that we've seen, but what else can we do with those features that isn't necessarily talked about? I think some of my team were looking at, well, can we automate and make it more efficient to change the key plan designations on title blocks with the tool? And so they're looking into that and looking into Kobe data population and how can we make that smoother with Ideate. And I think it's an interesting tool, and we've had really good uptake of users. For a new tool, usually it's really slow and no one wants to touch a new tool. But immediately hundreds of users are using it and getting on doing better in the modeling sphere. So that's really good. And then consulting services, we, get some training from Greytech as well where needed. I actually need to talk to Ed about training platforms for internal training as well, and how we can look at that, because we've grown so much in the last few years. We've got 1,300 staff. We need to have a dedicated BIM and digital training platform for them to grow as people within the company.
Nice. Well, you touched on some of my next question. So we're going to dive into a bit more. What's the implementation process been like of adopting new tools and tech, with the kind of the technology overload that can happen sometimes? How do you manage that, and how has it been with, Ideate and file sync and all that?
Generally, a massive challenge. People are resistant to change and new tools. Ideate was surprisingly smooth. People just wanted a tool, and it had lots of stuff we did a lot of research on tools to find the best fit, and Ideate was the best fit in terms of features that we would adopt across all the different disciplines that we have, but also cost as well. And I think because it was such a broad base of tools, it wasn't just for MEP, it wasn't just for structures, which is often the case when you're looking at tools. People picked it up straight away. We ran some online training, we recorded it, we put it on our SharePoint site, and people flocked to it really. And word got around like, oh, you should use Ideate. And then they just installed it and went with it. So Ideate was really simple. File sync's been fairly straightforward. Initially, it was only the IT team that were using it for backups. So no one else really knew we had it. I demoed it to the doc control team earlier in the year. And then we sat down with Greytech, who also did a more in-depth demo for them. And they can't wait to start using it. We've got the license. We're setting up the infrastructure now to put the license on, and then they'll get stuck into it when I get back from this conference. But they can't wait. So for those two tools, it's been a welcome relief of people are just using it. Generally, it's a massive challenge to get people to use new software.
Right. Yeah, it can be the grind of the change management aspect, and changing behaviors and habits is difficult.
Yeah.
So having that lightweight tool makes
Yeah.
a big difference for sure.
Yeah. Because people like what they're used to,
Right.
and they don't understand why
Even
they
if
need
they
to
don't
change.
like what they're used to,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, oh, this is my tool, so I want to keep it.
Yeah. I know how to use it. It might not be great, but I know it. I don't have to learn something new.
Right.
And that's always a big factor in what we purchase is what's the learning curve for people, and really focusing on consolidation of software so that they're not learning 50 platforms to deliver one project, trying to keep that as small as possible because it is information overload, I think, for staff. So, yeah.
How do you measure the outcome, and how do you know if it's a success when you are implementing a new tool?
Usually, if it's not a success, you'll hear about the moaning immediately. If it's a success, people generally want to talk about it. They want to recommend it to other people in the business. Amusingly, a lot of people come up to me and go, "Do you know we have this?" And I was like, "Yes, I bought it."
I'm very familiar with it, yeah.
And we try and very focused on doing digital blogs and stuff internally. For Ideate specifically, a lot of the early users, in order to get more people on it, I got them to do case studies, probably too strong a word, take one feature and write about how that was really positive and give an example of what that did to improve their project. It's usually quite painful to get people to commit to doing anything like that. But I think I managed to get 5 or 6 people that were just like, yeah, I can knock that out for you because
Nice.
It's really good. I want other people to use it.
Yeah. I love that approach to crowdsource the champion aspect of it, to not necessarily have the one go-to champion, but really disseminate it across the team. That's awesome.
Yeah, hugely. Because if I'm sitting there saying it, people get bored of it.
Right. They start to tune you out.
Yeah. They're like, oh, she's banging on about that again. And even with ACC, I'm a big part of that development team from the technical side. I'm not front facing on it because if I'm front facing on it, people will switch off as that's a BIM thing. And it's really a project management thing. So let's put the project managers front and center on that. So yeah, we've spent about a year getting them trained up to be really comfortable with it, understand the functionality of it, the setup, the way you can manipulate project to project. So yeah, I think any software that you're putting out there, if you can get, like you said, champions that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be at the front and center, it tends to get a bit more traction. It's always the same person. They just think, oh, it's another thing.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Their next pet passion project or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a really good approach. We talk a lot about having the right message to deliver when you're implementing tech to the different stakeholders, and not just use the same highlight to every single person, because the what's in it for them is going to be very different. But I like the kind of add-on that you're bringing in is also find the right person to deliver the what's in it for them.
Yeah.
That they're going to listen to. That's brilliant.
And that probably has been a hard thing to learn as a person in my job, is that because I get really excited about stuff that I know is going to be beneficial, to just go, okay, I'm just going to go to the back now and let someone else just be the point person for it. But I think it's necessary. If it just wouldn't work otherwise, I'm not the right person to sell certain things. Some things I am.
Makes total sense. So what's the next step of the innovation or digital transformation journey for you all?
I'll be able to tell you at the end of the week.
Once you go.
Yeah, I think it's obviously we need to digest what's been coming out this week of what's imminently on the roadmap and what's further down the line. And I think a lot of there's some great stuff that's immediate, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to be big impact, but it's probably a bit further in the distance. Mm-hmm. And it's going back, sitting down as a group and working out how we prep the company to be ready for that when that time comes, and then just sit crying for a couple of years about I'd not know how to do it.
It's the wild west, especially in the AI arena. We're all just kind of bumbling and figuring it out as we go along.
Yeah. And it changes so fast. I could be sat here in 12 months' time and it's a completely different conversation. So it's
even like a couple months.
Yeah, exactly. So you really need to be flexible now with, when people say, what's your 5-year strategy? I think it's a redundant question now because you probably can't look further ahead than 12 months confidently.
Right. On the technology side, at least, because and again, on the AI side, we don't even know what is going to be in place next year because it hasn't even been thought of probably. The speed that it's developing on and iterating out is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's crazy. And some of it's scary and some of it's really good.
A little scary is okay, I think.
A little scary.
It's okay. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
So as we start to kind of wrap up, a couple rapid fire questions for you. So the tagline here at Great Tech is modeling the future. What does that mean and look like to you?
My God, that could have been a pre-question. I think we need to adopt technology, and especially when we're talking about AI, there's a lot of negative information about AI out there about how it's going to take people's jobs away, creativity will be stifled. So it's building a culture really that understands the impact of adopting technology. Like, we could do a lot of things. Should we do everything? And probably not. I think there's a happy medium. So yeah, that's probably...
That was a great off-the-cuff answer, okay? What does innovation mean to you?
I mean, for me personally, I always look at, in terms of software, I always look at software and think, okay, it does all of that really well. Can it do this thing that it's not meant to do that would be really helpful? And that's a really basic analogy of how I think of innovation. It's just continually thinking, not just accepting what you're given all the time, but always looking at like, this is great, what else can I do? And keep learning, basically.
Be curious. How do people connect with you or find out more information on what's going on?
They can come to our website, which is cundall.com. I am a very light presence on that website, but you can find my email address on there and contact me and I will respond. So yeah, there's a lot of information about our business. There's a lot on the digital side on there, and especially on the projects and how we've adopted digital for our projects.
Nice. Well, last question for you. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers, innovate one thing, what would you innovate?
That's just one.
Just one.
Seamless interoperability, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Comes up a lot. We have lots of conversations on interoperability.
Yeah.
So we haven't solved it. So we haven't snapped that finger yet. Yeah. Maybe we're getting there.
Yeah, please, by the end of the week.
We'll do. That'll be the theme for next year's AU. Yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining the show today.
Thank you very much.
And now it's time for my Todd takes from this episode. First take, data with intention, not accumulation. Start with the questions, then collect the data. Keep data feedback capture lightweight, like lessons learned via simple ACC issues. Make it interoperable and build your data lake to serve decisions, not to hoard. Machine learning comes after you've curated useful, consistent signals. Second take, make it safe to learn fast. Change sticks when teams are allowed to do it wrong once to see why the better path matters. Spread champions beyond BIM and let others carry the message so the right people hear the what's in it for me. The right messenger accelerates adoption. And finally, fewer tools, faster wins. Choose tools with a low learning curve and broad utility to cut cognitive load and speed uptake. Automations and smart syncs free people from busy work so they can focus on value. Keep strategy horizons short, stay cloud first, and design for interoperability as Forma and AI evolve. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our sponsor, Great Tech Group, at asdi.com for more information. You can listen to this podcast anytime by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. As always, I'm Todd Wyant, thanking you for joining the conversation to model the future on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.